All right, we are finally done with it. Notice of trespass, October 21st, 2021. Greetings to a woman known to use the name Pam Harris, who at times acts as Grant County Clerk of Court with the city of Marion, Indiana. I, man, known to use the name Derek Gonzalez, stated on October 21st, 2021. Your correspondence with I by way of telephonic oral communication at 9:28 ante meridiem. You state orally you will not issue a docket number for the claim of I by way of trespass by way of robbery. I state you claim I must pay a fee for a docket number. I state you claim I must restructure the claim of I before you will grant I a docket number for the claim of I state Indiana Constitution, Article 1, Section 12, all courts shall be open, and every person for injury done to him in his person, property, or reputation shall have remedy by due course of law. Justice shall be administered freely and without delay, without purchase, completely and without denial, speedily and without delay. I state Hale versus Hinkle, every man or woman has a right to redress of grievance. I state Bodie versus Connecticut, due process of law does not require a fee for a redress of grievance. I state there is no law that requires I, man, to diminish the status of I by filing an inform form or to diminish the status of I to indigent. I claim you trespass on I, causing I harm by way of denial of due process of law, dereliction of duty, honest services fraud, breach of trust, breach of oath of office, extortion, barratry, mixed war against the Constitution, theft by way of false promise, false and misleading statements, fraud by way of wire, unjust enrichment, unauthorized practice of law. I state equity sees as done what ought to be done. I state equity will not allow statutes to be used as a cloak for fraud. I state equity aids the vigilant, not those who slumber on their rights. I state equity will not suffer a wrong without a remedy. I state equity will take jurisdiction to avoid multiplicity of suits. I state equity disregards form and looks at the substance and intent. I state equity delights in equality. I state equity imputes an intention to fulfill an obligation. I state equity does not require an idle gesture. I state equity delights to do justice and not by halves. I state equity will not aid a volunteer. I state equity regards the beneficiary as the real owner. I state I come with clean hands, with good faith, good conscience, and for good reason. I require compensation be made for the harm, loss, and damage of I by way of trespass, by way of denial of due process of law, extortion, dereliction of duty, honest services fraud, breach of public trust, breach of oath of office, barratry, mixed war against the Indiana Constitution, theft by way of false promise, false and misleading statements, fraud by way of wire, unjust enrichment, and unauthorized practice of law. However, if it is your wish to remove controversy and now provide remedy for what I believe is a trespass by you, please restore the property of I, issue a docket number to I, or send notice to I within 7 days of said date of receipt of this notice. However, if you still believe you do no wrong, I would be more than happy to invite you to a court of law where you will be invited to testify to any lawful excuse you may feel you have. However, if at that time you do not have a lawful excuse to press upon the record, then I will seek compensation for the trespass by way of denial of due process of law, dereliction